I kid Brad a lot about how I think AI sucks. But lately, Brad is killing it with AI. It's gotten so good that I can't tell a real person from an AI-generated voice. Brad, I give you a rough time, but this is from my heart. Yes, this is the real John Combest saying, Brad, you're the best.
Voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah. It's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
John, we have a lot to live up to when the singers say, our show is the finest in the land. What do you think?
Well, it depends on what you consider the land. To me, the only land that matters is an area by a radio transmitter that was once the porta potty of Lewis and Clark.
Yes, it's true. And because of that, the grass grows greener, the plants grow higher. And the interesting part of this is that Monsanto/Bayer needs to go there because in that area, we never have any weeds. Never any weeds. It must be.
It's amazing, Brad. You do such a great job on that. It's that pre-emerge weed control.
Right.
And way to go. By the way, way to go, Brad Combest.
Thank you, John Hildebrand. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. Spell his name out, put a .com on the end of it, put a John on the front of it. That's J-O-H-N, not J-O-N like John Bosher, but that's a whole, or John Bosch, whatever his name is. We put together this show, and we started off with important stuff. John has this incredible website he's done for, 45 years now? Is that what it is, 45 years now, John?
245
years. And every day he puts together this website that gives you everything you need to know about the state of Missouri, except for certain things which you don't need to know about, but the important stuff you need to know about. Now, there are so many things in this list that if we did the entire list, we would have to make this a 3 or 4 hour show. But what we do is we condense it down to the top 3. We curate, I should say, it's John curates the top 3. We bring in this VIP radio announcer dude. Your name?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And he counts them down, and we start off with?
In third place.
Yesterday's top 3 had a thread running through all 3 stories. And it was kind of a roller coaster of high and a low and then another high. The thread that brought everything together was some form of drug use. We discussed the unfortunate passing of a gentleman named Denton Loudermill, who was thrust into the national spotlight after the Kansas City Chiefs parade fiasco. We also talked about cannabis. We also talked about Missouri drug deaths. It was heavy. Well, there is another drug that we didn't discuss yesterday in the plethora and cornucopia of drugs, and that's nicotine. Today, in the Southeast Missourian newspaper, a team effort down there, a bunch of reporters got together and went through some recent data of a Missouri student survey. And that survey found that 10% of Cape Girardeau County students reported using vapes or e-cigarettes. Brad, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. When you're out in public at a store or even in a big crowd, do you see adults or, God forbid, even teenagers vaping? Do you see them with those vape sticks?
Well, I have to admit my oldest son vapes, and sometimes it drives me nuts, which I guess is better than smoking. But I do from time to time. Not that often, but from time to time.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that you mentioned that your son does that, because you mentioned that in theory it's less harmful than smoking, and we should get to that in a minute because that's referenced in this story here too. I see it a lot. If you're ever in a big crowd, you'll just see, if you look ahead, you'll see just a steam of smoke coming from above, and you know that it's not a cigarette or even a marijuana cigarette, but that it's somebody vaping with this, whatever these sort of scents and flavors are. But I think what was interesting about this survey, and of course the Southeast Missourian just cites the local data, but they said that nearly half of students said that it was, quote, sort of easy to get their hands on vape products, and almost 1 in 5 6th through 12th grade students said someone their age would be, quote, pretty cool or, quote, very cool if they vaped. So roughly 1 out of 5 kids, Brad, says that if somebody vapes, yeah, that's kind of cool. So to me, this isn't much different than when you were in high school or I was in high school and people that smoked, at the time it was like, hey, he's pretty cool. He's got some cigarettes. Or even more importantly, he knows somebody who has access to cigarettes. And Brad, you brought up the fact that as your son vapes, that it's generally considered to be less harmful. And that's referenced in the story here too, because the tobacco industry, and gosh, I hate beating up on corporations and industries, Brad, I really do. But the tobacco industry allegedly has been pushing these products by adding flavors to them and then also pointing out, hey, you're not inhaling the smoke. You're not inhaling nicotine when you use these smokeless products. And I think it's hard to dispute that that is healthier than inhaling that smoke, isn't it, Brad?
They say it is, but then you come out with some of these reports that some of the vapes are being made in China, and they don't care what's in them. It could be, it could be formaldehyde or all sorts of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And this goes along with, now this isn't mentioned in this particular piece, or I didn't see it in the Southeast Missourian piece, but on the adult side, a lot of these adult nicotine products, like these nicotine pouches, are just widely popular. So I should say wildly popular. So if you look at a product like Zyn, which is ZYN, we discussed that roughly 5 or 6 months ago on the show, that's smokeless. So for people who want a little bit of a buzz or a little bit of a high, but who sit at a corporate office all day, they can essentially put a little lipper in, and they can get their nicotine high without being stinky and disgusting and going to the smoking area with the old shriveled 60-year-old secretaries.
John, I don't want to foreshadow Brad's top 3, but all I can tell you is I've been doing some research on the charts, the music charts, what's popular in Missouri, what's popular in the nation. And what's interesting about it is, do you know the number 9 song on the media base, which is iHeart's Top 40, which is Ryan Seacrest uses, the number 9 song?
Yeah, it's called KBDZ as in the Westplex.
No, it's Vaping in the Non-Gender Specific Restroom. That's the number 9 song.
Oh, that's very good, Brad. That's very good. If anyone was around in the 1980s during the MTV era, they will especially appreciate Brad's references. I love that. 1984 is the year that Brad started his first company.
Smoking in the boys' room. Smoking in the boys' room.
What do you think? I think that was probably roughly 84, wouldn't you say?
No. I think that was 70s. I think that I want.
Oh, was it really? Okay.
I want to say.
I stand corrected there, Brad. The point is, no matter where you go, you're going to see people vaping. A great moment in my St. Charles County history is about 2 years ago. I was at a youth sporting event, and I was having a conversation with a sweet, sweet elderly lady outdoors at this unnamed St. Charles Park, watching a sporting event. And the woman mid-sentence whipped out her vape pen, which inspired my song, Vapin Granny. Boop, boop, Vapin Granny. And how is it that you can't sit through a kid's sporting event without whipping out a vape and having to get a nicotine fix? Can't you wait an hour and just wait till you get to your car, Brad?
John, yeah, I agree with you on that. What's interesting about this is I forgot about this. It was redone by Motley Crue in 1985. The original was 1973. So
okay.
yeah.
See, that's how I associate it with roughly first grade for me. So there we go.
Right. The original song was done by Brownsville Station in 1973 and was redone by Motley Crue in 1985. Smoking in the boys' room. When you ever seem to have one of those days when everyone's on your case, from your teacher all the way down to your best girlfriend, well, you know what I used to have to just about all the time, smoking in the boys' room. That's what it was. Okay.
There we go,
By
Brad.
the way, John, I'm even though the FCC is on hiatus because they're being shut down, I want to avoid an FCC fine, and I have to do something which I neglected to do. Can I back up for a minute here?
Oh, yeah, please do, Brad.
Okay. Normally on Friday we play the Barbershop Boys, and then right after that we play the Polka Boys. But this morning I screwed up, and here they are.
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
Even though we were already up to number 2. But I
Hey,
had
that's okay, Brad. But that would be a good lead-in to number 2. How about that?
Here we go.
Up a notch to number 2.
One of the gems of doing the show with you is that for folks who had any sort of connection to North City, maybe the Baden area, maybe the Riverfront area, or North St. Louis County, from Howdershell to Trampy Road, we drop in a few references here and there. And today's no different. Brad, can you picture in your mind's eye the area near Adelaide Avenue and good old Hall Street? You recognize Adelaide and Hall Street, don't you?
John, I was there a few weeks back going to Pick and Pull.
Yes, you were, Brad, and you've had quite some experiences there. Well, for folks who don't know, a familiar shortcut for Brad and I back when we both lived in North County, if you wanted to say get downtown, you could just take 70 to Adelaide, jog over to Hall Street, and go right up north, back up to North St. Louis County. Well, there's a 19-acre site there that was purchased by an Israeli company. Yes, an Israeli company. And they had big ambitions of making batteries there. Lithium iron phosphate, to be exact. Well, what made them think that they could just plop a factory down up there? That's going to be kind of expensive in North St. Louis City. Well, here's why. Because in 2021, the Biden administration said, hey, we've got a bipartisan infrastructure law, and we're going to fuel clean energy projects. Hey, Israeli company, here's $200 million. Knock yourself out. Well, I'll just cut to the chase, Brad. The Trump administration, apparently going through these grants with a fine-tooth comb, says $200 million for some green energy crud in North St. Louis? No, thank you. The company is called ICL Specialty Materials, and they have signaled that they are putting that plant in North City on hold. Now, that's the assumption here from Jacob Barker of the Post-Dispatch. He says that the company hasn't explicitly said they're not going to build the plant, but they did indicate that the government is not going to give them that money. And without that money, Brad, the likelihood that they actually follow through on building this plant is pretty slim. So in other words, as I read it now, this Israeli company actually owns the land now. They're ready to go. But now this federal funding isn't coming in, so they're probably going to ixnay it, Brad.
So did they actually break ground? Are they doing anything up there, or is it just the they haven't even started yet?
I don't think they've started. I don't think they've started at all, because they say, quote, they're examining the continuation of the project. And a woman did not immediately respond for comment on Thursday. But they purchased here, Barker says, $40 million of cash has been doled out for the project. They purchased a 19-acre site on the North Riverfront near Adelaide and Hall Street. So it looks like they bought it. They just haven't done anything with it yet.
And they got $200 million?
Yeah. I mean, hey, Brad, don't you think clean energy is important? Why wouldn't you toss maybe $200 to them?
No, not $200. $200 million.
Excuse me.
Yes.
$200 million
$200
to them, Brad.
I think $200.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of funny, and Jacob does a good job of pointing this out, I got to say. Jennifer Granholm, the former U.S. Secretary of Energy under Biden, was at the groundbreaking along with the guy from Israel, and Governor Mike Parson was there. So a good conservative Republican was up there essentially co-signing this green energy project. And the governor said at the time, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Missouri is as competitive as we can be in that energy market when it comes to the battery situation.
And that.
So there you go, Brad.
And that Governor Parson, remind me, he was a Democrat governor, correct? Right?
That is not right,
What?
Brad, you sarcastic sir.
What?
He was a Republican. But, when a bunch of money comes to the state, even if it's coming from Sleepy Joe, you're probably going to be like, well, we kind of like the money coming in.
John, talking about they're going to make batteries as an aside, and you might find this interesting. You're the financial guy. Have you seen the financial reports for General Motors and Ford? Specifically, have you seen the loss figure that they have in there, if you read their financial statement, in the billions of dollars, and the line item loss? Do you know what the line item loss was for both Ford and General Motors, John?
By context clues, I'm going to guess it's EVs.
Yes. I think Ford lost $2.5 billion with a B, and General Motors lost $1.7 billion with a B. And the other interesting thing was, I read a story the other day that talking about the Cybertrucks, Elon Musk, the much heralded Cybertrucks, and they thought they were going to sell like hundreds of thousands of those per year. I saw the statistic that in August, take a guess how many new Cybertrucks were delivered in August?
0.0.
No, it's better than that. They delivered 5,200, which is way.
But that's a pittance, right?
Yes, way below, because if you extend that out to times 12, that gives them what 60,000 trucks or something like that, and they were targeting 250 to 500,000 a year when they're only the whole EV thing is just crashed.
It is, and the greatest thing about it is people should just go down to Pick and Pull. And I heard there's a guy down there that will see like a Chevy Volt, and call his son and be like, you think you could get down here and we could get this car? And I say to that same man, you think you could just play Casey to get into story number one?
Here we go.
The number one.
Last week, we played quotes from a number of female politicians, including Catherine Hanaway. And I have a great Catherine Hanaway quote. We get a little bit tired of just playing defense, and we've gone on the offense here. That quote is from the Mark Reardon show yesterday on 97.1 FM Talk. Catherine was talking about the latest of many lawsuits about redistricting. Catherine's point is, hey, these liberals, these out-of-state dark money groups, they always come to the courts. They try to fight us. Well, guess what? We're not playing defense. We're going to play offense. And here's the gist of Catherine Hanaway's suit. She says that the U.S. Constitution enumerates states, including Missouri, to make their redistricting decisions by the legislature. Excuse me. Catherine's argument is, in no way does the U.S. Constitution say, well, the state should make the law, and then the voters get to vote on whether they like the map or not. Catherine's point is that you might eventually have map paralysis, redistricting paralysis, in which in every state, a state could say, hey, these are our congressional districts for this decade. And then the people say, no, we don't like that. You guys can do better. So Catherine has taken this case to court, and she says, hey, we have a good chance of winning this case. And even Mark Reardon pushed back and was like, wait a minute. Is this the type of thing that could eventually end up in the U.S. Supreme Court? And here's what Catherine said, quote, ultimately, it could, most definitely. It starts here in St. Louis with, it just got assigned to one of the newly appointed judges, Judge Zach Bluestone. And then after he makes the decision, it goes up to the 8th Circuit. And from there, it could go to the United States Supreme Court. So among all the machinations going on with redistricting, Catherine says the point could be moot, kind of like Springfield said in Jesse's Girl, but the point is probably moot. So Brad, I guess her point is the Constitution doesn't say that we as Missourians get to vote on what the legislature does. The legislature makes its decision, and that's that.
So she's trying to do this is like a preemptive strike, essentially. She's trying to get ahead of the whole situation with the far left groups.
Yeah, I guess, that's one way to look at it. I mean, she would say that it's playing offense. Now, the one piece I would suggest people go read, unsurprisingly, I'm going to recommend people go to Jason Rosenbaum. There's a number of pieces from Missouri mainstream media and progressive blogs today. Reporters and bloggers are very angry about it. But if you want to read an objective piece, go read Jason Rosenbaum. He quotes, there's a liberal law professor from WashU. You can imagine what they say. Democrat attorney Chuck Hatfield, of course, disagrees with Catherine Hanaway and another opinion there. And so if you want to read an objective piece, go read Rosenbaum's piece, because he goes into detail based on exactly what Hanaway says and what the liberal and Democrat opposition say.
John, he's one of the 34-member news department at KWMU, St. Louis Public Radio. What do the other 33 members of the news department say about this very topic?
They say that they were down in St. Louis City and they were helped cleaning up that Veterans Park, Brad, and they were looking at the historical disadvantage of intersectionality among veterans and people who camp out at a veterans memorial.
So that's what the other 33 members were doing, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what they were doing.
Well, I don't blame them. If I were...
Hey, Danny Wissentowski was in the news yesterday because there's something about some movie or something that you know about, American Skyjacker or something.
Yes. That's coming out. I think, wasn't it released this week or something like that?
Yeah, maybe that's why that piece was featured there, Brad.
Interesting.
And if people want to learn more about that, go to our YouTube channel. Brad, you discuss it roughly once a month. And folks can do a search there, and they can hear Brad give his talk about Danny Wissentowski and American Skyjacker.
I interviewed him probably 2-3 years ago, and he did this great, at the time it was a podcast, and he told me, which was interesting, he told me that even though it was a podcast with no video whatsoever when they first rolled it out, that all the interviews were shot with video. And he said that the intention from the get-go was to do a movie, and they were sort of dipping their toe into the water to see how much response the podcast, the actual audio podcast, got before they actually edited up all the video and turned it into a movie. So apparently it's out there.
How foolish. They could have just done it by AI. They could have interviewed a fake black woman that said, well, I love the Brad and John show. That John's great, but Brad, well, my mama told me not to say anything if I can't say something nice.
Now, John, seriously, if you didn't know that was fake, isn't that like 99% realistic?
It's so good, Brad. And folks can find it on Brad Hildebrand's Facebook page, where you can also go and threaten to punch Brad in the face.
That's J.C. Corcoran. Okay, we have to take a break.